cried. So commemoration comes in. Ja'far al-Tayyar, the Holy Prophet himself, read the first majlis when his cousin, Ali's older brother, Ja'far al-Tayyar, he had lost his two arms in Mota and he became a shaheed in the Battle of Mota. The Holy Prophet came back to Medina and he cried, reciting from the pulpit. He said, my cousin, my brother, Ja'far al-Tayyar, lost his two arms and he died in the battle. And he cried. And all the Sahabas cried. So there is, you can find commemoration. Second thing, celebration. Did the Holy Prophet celebrate anything other than the two Eids? The Holy Prophet has celebrated a number of things. He says, I do not know which one to celebrate, the battle victory of Ali at the Khaybar or the coming back of my brother Ja'far al-Tayyar from Habsha, and many other things he has celebrated. Now, has he celebrated any birthdays? Again, the Shias believe that the Holy Prophet himself authorized, and he did it, and according to the traditions of the Ahlul Bayt ﷺ, the Holy Prophet allowed it. Hazrat Fatima used to celebrate it, Ali never stopped her. He said this was the date when my father got married to my mother Khadija. She celebrated that date. The Shias also celebrated Rabiul Awwal, 9, 10, around that time. They say that Holy Hazrat al-Zahra used to celebrate that day. Hazrat al-Islam used to also. The Imams, the Shia Imams have always said this is the time for the birth of the Holy Prophet has come. So they always celebrate it, and that's why the Shias always celebrate. And they take it to be one of the highest ranking Eids, the du'as that they have accepted, and the Raza, the fast of that day is highly recommended. It equals to a fast of many years, according to the traditions.
Just a simple question. Because we have created this forum to bring the Muslims together, try to understand each other, how can we better achieve that?
I think that is a better question concerning to bring the people together. When I came here, I said to all the brothers that let the Shias speak for themselves and let the Sunnis are in majority. There are probably more than 70%, probably 80%, probably even more than 80% Sunnis, and there are something like only 300 million Shias in the world. Most of the Shias are in certain countries, and many of the Sunnis do not have any interaction, so they don't know what the Shia beliefs are, and that's why the hatred for each other increases and the gap between the two groups increases. So this was to tell you what we believe, and let us support our arguments from Quran and Sunnah and Hadith, and say that yes, okay, fine, we accept. Session2, we said in the 1940s, accepted the Shia fiqh Jafri to be the fifth school of thought. And even today in Saudi Arabia, when after having certain problems, they have brought in the mirah, the inheritance rules of the Shia Jafri fiqh, and also in Kitab al-Nikah as well, on inheritance and on marriage. So they accept that the Shia fiqh or the fiqh Ja'fari, Imam Ja'far Sadiq al-Islam, the one who founded the school of thought, or not founded but he taught it, he had the chance to teach it. He was a teacher of at least two of the Sunni schools of thought Imams, Imam Abu Hanifa and Imam Malik. So give him the respect and the dignity to allow and explain. How can we bring them together? Number one, educate each other about, educate each other. Education is the first thing. That would lessen you think that, they don't have any basis. That's why I try and give you a base that, look, we have a base for our belief. So educate each other so you have respect for the Shias as well. Number two, there are many, many common things. And I think if I was to bring in the common ground between the beliefs, I've already mentioned, but it also in the practices of Imam Abu Hanifa and Imam Sadiq al-Salam, you will be surprised how many common things you have in common in the practices and fiqh. So I think after probably these two sessions, if we can probably also we have another 2 sessions to go, at least in the final, if not the third one, but also the fourth one at least. Can we go to the practices and compare where they come together and what are the common things between Shia and Sunni, two schools of thought. Ja'fari and Hanafi, I cannot go into all 5. That requires a huge work to draw together Ja'fari, Maliki, Hanafi, Shafi, Hanbali schools of thought. But just one. There is, if you're interested, there is a translation into English, the 5 schools of thought by a Lebanese writer who died a long time ago, Jawad Mughniya. He has a book called 5 schools of thought, and he has drawn up all the fatwas of the 5 schools of thought together. And you'll be surprised to see how few the things are that they differ on, and how many the things are where they are common in all the 5 schools of thought. Hanafi, Maliki, Shafi and Hanbali with Jafri school of thought. So I think if we read and educated ourselves onto those issues, we will bring the people closer.
I think your last point that you just made is really pertinent. I'm a consultant, so I like to go into details of things. And you just said, we need to educate ourselves and learn. And it's a question I raised to my family members, who are very educated members, and I know I've asked quite a few people this before, but I'd like to know, as Shias and Sunnis, how do you think we could actually educate ourselves better? I'm an educated person. I've only started reading the Quran in a language I understand in the last 3 or 4 years. My first question to Shias and Sunnis here is, who can here claim to have read the Quran in a language that they understand first? Second, Sunnis call themselves Sunnis because they follow the Sunnah of the Prophet. Shias call themselves Shias because they follow Imam Ali to a certain degree and the Sunnah of the Prophet as well. How many Shias and Sunnis here can have claimed to have read a sizable proportion of the Sunnah? I know in my house I haven't got that book or the main 4 books, and yet we're very easily put into a form where we can have arguments about this, about that, and a lot of the time it's on hearsay. So, but back to my point, what do you think we can actually do? I read religiously. I've only recently started reading the Quran and some of the Sunnah, but what can we actually do to get that message through? Because otherwise, people will be saying, let's educate, let's educate, let's educate. It'll be falling on deaf ears. We'll go back home and watch EastEnders and the X Factor. How do we do it?
Very good question. Again, relevant to these gatherings. I think it may be the last question that we're taking. Number one, you already said that the Holy, how many of us have read the Holy Quran in the language that we understand? The Holy Prophet said, I'm leaving behind 2 things. The first thing he mentioned was the Holy Quran. How many of us ever look at the translation and look and think into the Holy Quran? أَفَلَا يَتَدَبَّرُونَ الْقُرْآنَ أَمْ عَلَىٰ قُلُوبٍ أَقْفَالُهَا? Do they never ever think into the Holy Quran and ponder into the verses of the Holy Quran? Or are their hearts tied up with locks? What is this locks on hearts? Can you ever put a lock on the heart? Meaning you have deprived yourself of the teachings of the Holy Quran. You have banned yourself, you've put yourself away from the Holy Quran. So I think number one, we all need to not just read the Holy Quran, but think into the Holy Quran. Look at the verses of the Holy Quran. Apply to them our life. The Holy Quran has 2 forms, a written form and a spiritual form. We all ever think into the written form and think of it as to be writing, black ink and paper. That's why we never respect it, because we think it is ink and paper. That's not what Quran is. That is only the written form of the Holy Quran. Bal huwa noorun, the Quran and knowledge, these are all light. The spiritual form of the Holy Quran, the biggest example is the Holy Prophet himself. If you want to see the Quran in a physical form, there is the Holy Prophet. Let's try and live and adapt the teaching of the Holy Quran too. One of the scholars in Qom, one of my teachers, he said, when everyone was asking him, how have you become what you've become? He could look at the verse and he would tell you what you intended. He said, you intend and I'll tell you. How did you do that? And many other things, many powers. He said, every verse that says, Ya ayyuhalladhina amanu, O you who believe, I looked at what order it gave, what command came out, and I tried to adapt it in my life. And if it stopped me from something, I try to leave it. Have we ever poured into the verses of the Quran like that? Imam Hassan alayhi salam, whenever he was reading the Holy Quran, he would say, whenever he said, Ya ayyuhalladhina amanu, he would say, Labbaik, Labbaik, twice. Oh Allah, you've thought of me to be worthy of an order. You're saying you're addressing the believers. What command do you have for me? Have we ever thought of like that? Oh, 5 prayers, they are burden. Oh, the month of Ramadan is coming. These are not burdens, these are gifts of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Prayers are gifts of Allah. The month of Ramadan, Imam Zainul Abidin, the 4th Imam al-Islam, whenever he looked at the